I had here Steve from Pogo Till You Drop label. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about how to start your own label and things about that. But how did you get to know punk music at the first place?
I got into music quite late. A lot of people get into music like when they're early teenagers. I was more like an early adult, 18, 19. And, like growing up in Scotland, but in the UK, punk has been a big, a big, musical genre. So it was always about like, the early bands, like the first wave of punk, the Sex Pistols, the Clash, stuff like that. So I'd heard bits and pieces of stuff like that, but it wasn't until I stumbled across Discharge when I heard Discharge for the first time. It sort of like lit a, how's it saying, lit a fire, and I started to having the internet, obviously access to internet, very easy to then branch out and get into obviously more and more stuff, and
Yeah.
friends and going to shows and stuff like that. It's an amazing thing, punk, as in the music alone, but also the community, what it does. It brings people together.
Yeah.
I've met so many cool people through the music alone, and they became lifelong friends, which is amazing.
What inspired you to start a DIY cassette label?
It's quite funny. My main reason was started getting into tapes, and a lot of I like music from all over. I like South American punk, Finnish punk, German, European, Spanish, Japanese. Probably stuff like that was very hard. Financially, it would cost you a very lot of money to take a physical copy. So I thought, and I'd spoke to one of my friends who also runs a label. His advice was, start your own label and just, contact bands and price how much it is and stuff like that, and look at the logistics of it. And it was purely based on to get music myself. That was my main reason.
Okay.
To feel my own passion basically for music.
When you started Pogo Until You Drop label, 1 year ago or?
Yeah, so it's maybe just under a year. I don't know if I'm at a year time scale, nearly a year.
What was your first release?
My first release was this Crime 84, Kidnapped demo. Really good UK 82 stuff, which is some of my favourite styles of punk, and they do it really well. Very similar in the vein of, like Riot Squad, Mayhem, stuff, stuff like that. Really aggressive, really political, and really straight to the point. No messing about. And that was the release that started it all.
How often do you release new tapes?
I've always got bands, lined up to go, and there's always stuff in the pipeline. But I tend to like to like release something at least every month, at least one tape per month. Like last year, well, it's not even a year, but since I started till current, I've released 17 tapes.
That's what many.
It's quite a lot. Some I was releasing 3 tapes at the one time, build some stock and stuff like that.
How do you choose the bands that get featured on your releases?
For me, it's the best way, but it could also be the worst way of putting bands out. I choose bands, music that I like. So if it's music that I am really passionate about and that I want to listen to, over and over and revisit, will grab my attention. I don't tend to put, this one could sell a popular style. It's not the main driver for me putting music, for me doing a label.
How do you find and discover bands for your releases? Do you use Bandcamp or what kind of method you use?
Yeah. So like a lot of I would say new labels, you rely on Bandcamp to find bands that are further afield. But as it develops, bands will contact you and offer you some files. This is what we're working on. Would you be interested? And you can, listen. I like it. I don't like it, and take it for there. But in the beginning, Bandcamp was a big help in finding, like, for instance, Plasma. I found the Plasma demo on Bandcamp. It was amazing. It was like my style of punk, just everything about it. They were new, which again, I tend to like to find new bands as opposed to older bands. I like to keep the new music coming out. And another reason to get back to like why I do a label is hopefully I release a tape and a bigger label who has more capital, more money, who puts out records, maybe takes notice of this small, tape and gets in touch with the artist and says, oh, we'd like to put a 7-inch out, or we would like to, do a record or something like that. Yeah. That's the main, ethos.
Yeah, to support the bands you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Built and it's all done on passion. It's just passion for the music, the bands. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Is it difficult to get permission from bands for releases, or how does it work in practice?
Not really. At the end of the day, it's a conversation like me and you are having a conversation. It's no different, to that. If I intentionally find a band, and I reach out, and engage in a conversation, then they either say no or they say yeah, and then you start to work out, the logistics of what happens, and like their input. Do they want to do the art? Would they like you to do the art? That type of thing.
What is your broadest achievement so far? What release?
I wouldn't say, I'm very proud of, them all. I do it all myself. Like everything is done by me, by hand. So it's very, very old school.
Is there a band you really like to get released?
I'm not a super serious guy, so I just keep doing what I'm doing and see what comes in the future, stuff like that, and like looking at older bands that didn't get a lot of exposure, maybe only released a tape, never managed to release vinyl or anything like that. So something like that would maybe something that would be good for the future, but not really a specific artist band.
What challenges do you face as a DIY punk cassette label, and how do you attempt to overcome them?
With cassettes, tapes, they're not as popular, um, especially I would say here, as for instance in America or Europe even. And for me, tapes are the new 7-inch. Like affordability, whereas the price to manufacture 7-inch records is went up really high. It's not overly expensive to fund a tape.
Are you also making some kind of special edition of your cassettes, like regular edition and some smaller special edition, that kind?
I do small runs, so they're limited anyway. I do maximum run is
Yeah.
fair, so that's quite limited in itself. But the thing with like limited and different variants and stuff like that is you tend to find if say 10 this variant, then the price is slightly higher because of that. It's not something that I'm a fan of. I want to make the tapes affordable, cheap. So like keeping everything the same so that it's the same for everyone else. I don't necessarily want to charge more.
How do you market your cassettes?
Like I use Instagram. I've got a website, but I've been guilty of not really maintaining it. And obviously Bandcamp, just available on Bandcamp, which I would like to get away from. I would rather them not getting a cut of their, funding the capitalist machine, but, it is a good market tool and gets people and bands a lot of exposure. But a lot of it's done by me, driven by me, like local record shops and stuff. I'm working with some of them at the moment to start stocking tapes in a record shop, which it's not something that you see a lot of in record shops here as cassettes anymore. So I would like to, make tapes available in a record shop again.
What are your plans for coming year?
To just do what I'm doing and to continue, releasing music. I would like to do collaborations with other labels as well, because it's all about, for me, is, building connections and, getting to meet and hear about other people, very people oriented. I think that's a cultural thing, being Scottish. We're quite friendly people, so just keep going, keep releasing.
What advice would you give to someone planning their own label?
The only advice that I could give anyone, if they're thinking, is just do it. If I can do it, then anyone can do it. It's not rocket science. If you're passionate about something, do it. What's the worst that can happen? It's not the end of the world. It's releasing music, and if it's something that you love.
Okay, thank you, Stevie.
Thanks for
Yes.
yeah.